Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching the Technique of the Month from Digital Photo Magazine. This month I'm going to show you how to take an ordinary picture like this and turn it into a pencil sketch using PaintShop Pro. Now I've got the picture open on screen and we need to do a little bit of work just to prepare this image for the sketch effect. We need to make this black and white, so let's go up to Adjust, Hue and Saturation, and then Hue, Saturation and Lightness. Now we're going to get the saturation slider, that's the one on the left hand side, and bring it all the way down to -100 and click OK, and that'll give you a black and white image. Now we're going to need a couple of layers for this picture, so if you can't see the layers palette, F8 on the keyboard, and that'll open the layers palette up like so. I need a copy of this layer, so let's go to Layers and choose Duplicate to get an exact copy. Now I'm going to switch that copy off and work on the background one just for now. We'll come back to the other one in a minute. Now we need to put some filters onto this, so let's go up to Effects, choose Texture Effect, and then Texture itself. Now we're going to use this filter to put the very small little thin hand-drawn lines, but what I'm not going to use is the default textures that we've got along the top. If you slide down the texture list, you will find one eventually, here it is, that has a little bit more of a drawn look. It's texture number 21. Now the settings I'm going to put in here I've worked out by a bit of trial and error, but I'm getting the size at 350%. On the image settings the smoothness is 30, the depth is 10, the ambience is 40, and the shininess is 90. The light, we've got the angle at 145, intensity 18, and elevation 75. Now, don't think that these settings are going to work for every single picture. They work well for this picture and many others, but use these as a starting point rather than being an absolute settings that you must use. Okay, click OK, and there we go. Now that puts the effect on quite nicely, but there's a few areas on the picture where I don't think it's worked quite so well, particularly down the side here and perhaps a bit on the skin tones. So what we're going to do is just get our materials palette, F6, and make sure we have white as our foreground colour, which we don't, so I'll just click on white, there we go. And then we're going to go paintbrush, and I'm going to drop the opacity of this brush down to about 50% so it doesn't work too quickly. And then just paint on any areas where I think that effect has just been a little bit too heavy, like on the forehead there, and maybe down the side around here. Now having this brush set to a low opacity means that I can build this effect up gradually. So rather than having it work all in one go, I can just do it in 2 or 3 clicks, and that always gives you a nicer result when you're doing this type of work. Okay, lovely, there we are, that looks pretty good. So that's that bit of the sketch effect completed. Let's click on the top layer and make that visible again by clicking the visibility eye icon, and we'll put a different filter to give a different effect here. Back to Effects, choose Art Media Effects, and then select Charcoal. Now the settings on here are a little bit more simple than the other filter, fortunately. The detail setting, we're going to bring that up to about 95%. Now it's always going to be about, but let's see if we can get it exactly. There we are, exactly 95. Opacity, dead easy this one. Let's whack it up all the way up to 100%. Brilliant. Click OK, like that, and that'll apply the effect to it. Now I do find this just a little bit on the harsh side, so just to soften those lines down, I'm going to go back to Adjust, Blur, and we'll put a bit of Gaussian blur in here, just a couple of pixels. Let's put in 2 pixels in size. That's just enough just to soften those harsh lines down a little bit. So we've got our 2 layers with our 2 different effects. Now we need to merge these together, and to do that we're going to use a blend mode. Currently the blend mode is set to normal, but click the little down arrow and choose something like multiply. You could also try overlay or hard light, they also work quite nicely. It's also quite a heavy effect, so we're going to drop the opacity for this down to about 50%. Lovely, that looks pretty good. Now, I'm happy with the result of that. If you wanted to make any other changes, of course, you could come in here and just paint again like we did before. Maybe like that. But once you're absolutely happy, and I must stress this as being important, that you are absolutely happy, we're going to flatten these 2 layers together. Let's go to Layer, choose Merge, and then Merge All Flatten. That'll take our 2 layers and collapse them down into one. Right, we want a bit more working area around here because I'd like to put a little bit of a border effect in. So let's go up to our image, canvas size, and we're going to bump this canvas size up a little bit. I've got the width and the height locked together, so I only have to move one. I'm going to move it to about 5,000 pixels, so I've added a few hundred pixels on each side. Just click OK. Okay, there we are. Now you can see what's happened. That shrunk it down in the picture area. Let's just fit that onto the screen so we've got a bit more room to play with. But I've got these hard edges around the outside of the picture. I don't really like that. I'd like to blend these in a little bit. So I'm going to get a paintbrush. I still got white as my foreground colour, I think. Let me just check. F6, yes. Still have white as my foreground colour. Still have an opacity of 50%. Now, normally I would put the opacity back up to 100%, but again, I like to build this effect up. And I'm just going to paint along the edges, because I can find some of the brushes in Paint Shop Pro to be a little bit harsh at 100%. So if there's no rush, and there isn't, then we might as well just build the effect up slowly by building the layers of paint on top of each other. That gives a softer edge effect. What I'm trying to do is just remove any straight line, any bit of the original photograph edge, so it blends in onto the paper. Again, it just adds to the sketchy effect of this image. Okay, that looks pretty good. Yeah, lovely. Okay, so let's just have a close-up look here. We'll just go in a little bit tighter, make sure this is looking good. So there's our sketchy effect up close. You can see we've got all the little sketchy lines, our little small cross-hatchings. And from a wide view, there we are. So there it is. There's our sketch effect inside of Paint Shop Pro completed.